What it do, buddies? I am leaving my mental health doctor appointment because I see him every other month. And I see my therapist once a month. And I went in there and we're talking, and I'm just like, you know, started this YouTube channel and shit to try to crack people's attention to the right direction. And so I feel like I'm finally able to tell you kind of what I think the secret of the universe really starts at, because not only has it been put in front of our faces in movies forever, but, you know, the CIA document, blah, 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 blah. I said, have you ever, like, did you ever heard of consciousness spoken about? Like, levels of consciousness? He's like, no. I'm like, I didn't either. I did not know that people actually were operating at different levels of consciousness. So then, you know, pretty much this unclassified CIA document explains that we're in a hologram. It's like, what? I was like, yeah, it kind of looks like we're in a holographic dream state of reality, and more and more I look at it, it looks like this is World War III. And World War III is a war on consciousness. And they have a bunch of parents, a bunch of conservative boomers terrified to turn the news off because they're terrified these idiots are going to come and take their guns away. But they're not going to do that. They know that that would start a revolution right now. But they're coming after our children, and they're coming after our pituitary glands, it looks like, and our pineal glands. I said, do you know anything about those two specific things? And he's like, I mean, not much. I said, it's a prescribing doctor. I mean, he's not a doctor. He's a nurse practitioner, but I call him doctor. I said, you're giving patients mind-altering medications, and this pituitary and this pineal gland shit looks like everything that these medications are fucking with, and, you know, it really looks like we're in a video game. And he's like, freaked out. He's like, the CIA has that on the website? I said, yeah. It goes and explains how our thoughts manifest reality, and kind of looks like, at least all of these poor mental patients, kind of looks like they're living in hell in their minds, and then it kind of looks like religious people and non-religious people and anybody who is not spiritually awoken kind of looks like they're in hell. And that's why our whole entire fake world looks like shit. And I said, if you could do me a favor and look that up, because I think that you are a very good man. I think that you mean so well, but I also think that you have absolutely mishandled my medical prescriptions, and me as a person, I feel very, very mishandled. And, you know, your office here hung up on me when I called the crisis hotline, and he definitely, I'm not going to say that on camera, but he insurance wouldn't cover right away Vraylar, this wild antipsychotic that is so fucking expensive. And whatever, I said, I really like you. I really, really, really like you. And I really, really like Jen. So, you know, unfortunately, me being your patient is going to be a fucking problem. And once I get my shit together, and once I get this neuropsych testing done, and if it comes back that I'm not crazy, and it can't be detected on brain scans that I have any of these problems, I'm going to need you to probably testify for me one day. And I'm going to sue anybody and everybody I have to sue to get doctors to regroup and talk about consciousness. Because when you look online, if you would Google spiritually awakening attorneys, there's an awful lot of resources out there for these poor attorneys who are having spiritual awakenings and can't lie. They can't put money above everything else. And that's kind of what happens when you wake up. You want to be a good person so that you don't fall again. Ever. You never want to fall. You want to see everybody knocked the fuck down and stood right back up. And it went super good. He was like, I promise. He goes, I will absolutely. He goes, that's very interesting. I said, yeah. Can you see what the problem would be if we're actually in a dream, but it's a nightmare? Everybody's stuck in a fucking nightmare. And then you wake up and you realize it's just a dream. And so, yeah, that went well. My Solar Lion 144 appointment. I had something posted on my community thing about it, and then I fucking saw days later that I had my email address on there, and I was like, oh shit, I took it down. But I rescheduled him for July 10th, and I got the whole confirmation thing or whatever, and I had spoken to Seth about my first appointment that had to be rescheduled because the fucking energies were absolutely going out of control, and it was a really bad time to be doing shit like shaman work because everybody is very, very under attack right now. And I ended up, that was my first day of vacation, and I didn't get an email link from him like I did the first time. And I saw that earlier in the day that I never got a confirmation link, and I just kind of waited around for one, like maybe it was gonna come like later in the day. Something happened with the scheduling, and I definitely don't think that the second time around that it stuck. I'm sure it was some kind of a fucking electrical malfunction or something that these jack-offs like to pull. But it was also the first day of my vacation, and I kind of I was supposed to go on vacation the week after, and I was supposed to be on vacation now, and it got moved up pretty much last minute, and it kind of worked out that I didn't have to spend that money while I was in the 8th richest zip code in the country. But think that what I'm gonna do is talk to Indigo Angel. I feel very drawn to Seth, and I'm totally gonna talk to him one day too. And for now, it looks like it's easier to schedule with Indigo Angel. And it looks like it's easier to schedule because she wants the money up front. Seth's, it's like, oh, you don't have to pay now. And then, like, it gives me anxiety the whole time. Like, I'm sitting there like, all right, like, even the first time, I'm like, hey, I have a reading with you in a couple of days. Like, are you going to send me a link, like, just to, like, get whatever, you know, paid for? And I definitely feel more comfortable talking to women. And, yeah, I'm going to get back on my feet because I've just been fucking going to concerts and going on vacation and trying to enjoy the summer. And it's going to take me a couple of weeks to financially get back on my feet. But, yeah, I'm going to schedule her and talk to her because she's an Indigo 1 with the whole Indigo 3 templating and all this shit. So I'm gonna talk to her and see what she has to say. Whenever you schedule with her also, she asks you for your birth chart information, and she'll do your birth chart for you too, and check some past live reincarnation kind of things and where your soul has been. That's why they want everybody to think that everything astrology is bullshit, because it's not. It's not bullshit. And like before, I'm a Scorpio, alright? I never knew about like ascending signs and moon signs. I didn't know any of that shit. Throughout the years, I've had so many people be like, wow, you don't come off like a Scorpio, but yeah, you're a fucking Scorpio. And I think it took until December or January for me to find out that I'm a Scorpio sun, Capricorn rising, which is how you present to people, is your rising sign. So I kind of present like a Capricorn, which is a little nicer than a Scorpio. And then I'm a Leo moon. These things are big deals. And if you think that regular zodiac shit's cool and accurate, you should look up the Chinese zodiac shit, because the Chinese zodiac shit looks very important. Me, I'm a snake, of course. And snakes are one of the 3 most alpha and dominant and wisest. It's the wisest of the Chinese zodiac signs. And I might be running around here an uneducated bartender, but I don't think I'm fucking stupid. That's for sure. Then, super cool thing happened last night at work. Literally the coolest fucking thing. This hot couple that comes in, and they're really, really cool, and they're really, really nice and shit. And I've talked to them before, and they're a little quiet. And we really got into conversation last night. And topic of Catholics came up, and it led us down a lot of deep conversation holes. Literally, like, I talked to these motherfuckers for like an hour and a half after my shift was done, and I walked out with the closers because I actually not closed yesterday for friggin' once. And they're like, yeah, we're like really, really spiritual. And I'm like, me too. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, I just don't talk about that shit because, you know, people think you're fucking crazy. And they're like, oh yeah. The one dude was a 15-year veteran went to war, came back, PTSD, was strangled up on a bunch of fucking antipsychotics, antidepressants, anti-this and that. And, he's like, it's absolutely fucking trash, garbage, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like, they fucked me up. They really, really fucking hurt me. And, they're like, so, you know, what kind of, like, what do you think's going on? And I'm like, well, I mean, I think that they put a lot of truth in movies and put shit right in front of our faces. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And then, you know, I kind of went through this kind of awakening where I felt like I came out of a fucking coma. And I woke up singing. I was so happy to be free. Said everything. I'm grabbing shit that I've touched a million times, and I'm going, this fucking thingamabob feels really different. My vision got better, and my hearing got better. And they're like, yeah, we've both been through that. And I'm like, do you know that we're in a video game? They're like, yes! And I'm like, get the fuck out of here! They're like, yeah, Law of One. And I'm fucking bawling. I cried so hard. We're all hugging, cheering, because we met anybody else who was fucking awake and knew what was going on. And they're like, yeah, that's why we just kind of be quiet and listen to people, because shit's not looking good. And I'm like, I know! This is fucking bad! And it was honestly cool. They are Norse pagan. Like, they followed, like, Norse pagan shit. And I'm like, I don't know much about Norse paganism. And he said, but I do know that it's a spiritual kind of pre-Christianity thing. And, I said, I definitely know shit like Thor's real, but I'm not sure Odin is, like, weird stuff. And they're like, yeah, you know, we really gravitated toward all of that, and, like, you know, we practice it, and we make connections, and we do all these things, and, like, if you wanted to get into that, and I was just like, I'm good. I am into getting into everybody's information to learn from it. I said, but I'm telling you what, I didn't have God and Jesus Christ knocked off a pedestal to put anybody else on it. I follow me and what's best for my family, period. Real God, me, my family, my children, you, your family, your kids. Oh, look, here's a wallet. Having a little temporary God experience as a fucking wallet, because everything that you see is God, because we're in a holographic projection. That's some fucking crazy shit. And even with this Hashiana Dean information, I am so glad that was my starting point. It looks like that's where everybody's stopping point is. And it looks like a very good start. Perhaps end. Who knows, you know? There are a couple of things that I have experienced in my own life that I can't help but to disagree with. Like her information on abortion, which is another reason this happened to me, which I'll talk about more in depth one of these days. And they say that when you have an abortion, that what actually happens is that soul comes in and gets lodged in your astral, etheric plane, whatever. That energy gets lodged like a blocking wedge, and it stops your awakening when you do things like that. Well, I didn't know what in the fuck was going on. I didn't know people were trying to wake up. I never knew anything, and I've absolutely been down the abortion route. And that's just not true. I've seen other women as well talking online about having spiritual awakenings after abortions. And all I can say right now, and like I've said before, is women, good women who have done those things out of desperation and to protect your own life, because you knew things like, if I have a kid, or if I have one more fucking kid that I'm gonna have to raise all by myself, probably I'm going to kill myself. And then there's no giving it to an adoption agency or anything like that, so that you can feel that connection to that poor kid you gave away, and it's probably being fucking eaten and beaten. You have to forgive yourself. As soon as everybody forgives themselves for being blind, like my poor Republican family, right? Everybody that voted for Joe Biden, I used to hyper focus on how fucking mad I was and how fucking stupid I thought these people were. But then you look, and Republicans have to take responsibility for voting for fucking Koopa. Everybody who voted for the Bushes is equally as guilty as these people who voted for Biden. It's a fucking disaster.